the Catholic Morning Show.
So wonderful to have you with us, friends. Thank you for coming on to listen. Iowa Catholic Radio, the Catholic Morning Show. I'm Bo Bonner, your host. Had Alexia with me all day. Brady Grimm and Ayden Pugh, forgive me. We have a new guy who just walked into the studio to help out a bit. Here we go. Deacon Campbell. He has a comment about my job, I think, and the job I'm doing.
I think you drifted into sports commentary.
I did.
There.
I realized an old Notre Dame quarterback, right?
And Cleveland Browns.
That's right.
But probably not well remembered for his NFL career.
No. I'm showing my age and also the peculiarity of a very particular era of football. Brady Grimm. Brady, thank you for all you're doing for us today. Today on the show, we're going to wrap up. We've, I think, sort of jokingly called it the 11th Commandment episode. We've had a chance to talk with Ed Van Buskirk about the 10 Commandments. So this has been, of course, a multi-week, multi-month thing that we've been doing. So it's wonderful to see the fruits of its labor, bring it to a head. And so Ed Van Buskirk, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
And thank you very much for having me. It's a joy.
Yeah, Bo started the conversation with you several weeks ago, and then he left the country. But it was not you, Ed. It was other circumstances. So I appreciate you hanging in there with us. And yeah, Deacon Campbell, grateful to be kind of wrap up our conversation that I think has been very insightful, very helpful to myself and hopefully to our listeners. And as we kind of put a cap on our series of looking at the 10 Commandments, we're going to talk about 11th Commandment, and you will find it in Scripture, but not necessarily referenced as a commandment. And Ed, we've been really trying to kind of diagnose the struggles of that people encounter in the world today. The disunity, the disharmony, and all of that, and how the 10 Commandments are a pathway towards restoring that unity. Why don't you just launch us right into this idea of the 11th Commandment and how that sort of helps summarize our conversations over the past several weeks?
Yeah, at the very end of Jesus' journey with us in Matthew 28, the very last verse in Matthew 28 is a call to the disciples, and we are disciples, to take what Jesus has given to us and to carry it forward. He says, "Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you." And, we think of this here and we think, okay, all nations, this is too grandiose for me as an individual. But what about the world that we live in the sphere of influence that we have, the world that God has given to us, and the influence that we have, the authority that we have, to take this passage and say, okay, how do I make disciples of the world in which I live? How do I be that disciple? And so I have kind of dubbed this as the 11th commandment, not literally as one of the commandments, but as a commandment nevertheless, for us to take what we have learned. And over the past 10 weeks, as we've been going through these commandments, I hope your listeners have been able to take some of the pieces, the nuggets of gold that we've talked about in these commandments, and said, how do I learn to know these commandments? How do I learn to live these commandments? And what is my responsibility within this verse of Matthew 28 to go and take this commandment or these commandments and share them with others, to give them to others so that they can have the truth and be armed and equipped with what is true in this world that is full of deception. And so this is how I wrap up my series on the commandments. This is how I wrap up my presentations, to give people not just what the knowledge, but the call to action, and to take what God has given to us and put it into action, and to participate with God in proclaiming the gospel and to bringing people to his truth and his love. And so that's why I wanted to have this extra session here with you. And that's kind of the nut of what this 11th commandment calls to me personally, and what I share with others.
And I'm glad you did, because again, there's 10 commandments that we've gone through, and there's probably somebody sitting, right now listening and thinking, Where do I begin? Where do I begin being a part of this solution of going out and teaching and sharing what Jesus has commanded? Where does one begin?
Well, first off, it's just to take a quick assessment to see how well do you know the commandments. Sit down and without any help, how well can you recite the commandments? Can you write them down? And then that kind of gives you an idea of where you stand. And if you don't know the commandments and can't recite them quickly, and you don't think about them on a daily basis, that implies that you're probably not putting them into play in your daily life as well as you thought. And that's where I came from with this, is I realized I didn't know the commandments, and therefore I had to be honest with myself to say, if I don't know them, I'm probably not living them. And so when you assess where you are with them, that's a good start. And then an easy thing to do is just put the commandments up where you can see them. Put them in your home. Put them in your workplace, in your school. Paste them, to the side of your monitor at home, or on the mirror where you wash your face and brush your teeth, to see them on a regular basis. We have a 10 Commandments prayer that I get more comments from this 10 Commandment prayer, which you can download from our website. People say that this commandment helps them prepare for their day, to prepare for them to, when they encounter decisions that involve the commandments, that they can recognize them quickly, and then they can make much better choices. So that's a way to really begin to know the commandments and to really put them into our hearts. And then the next calling is to teach them to others, to share them with others. Give an image of the 10 Commandments as a housewarming gift to someone, as a wedding gift for a couple. Send it off to, kids are going to be going off to the universities here in just a few weeks, and they're going to be in the crosshairs of the confusion, the moral relativism, and the confusion that's out there. Give them something to hold fast to, and to have the image of the 10 Commandments on their dorm wall, so that they can see what is true and be reminded of what is true. There's real simple things that we can do that don't require us necessarily to make great changes. If someone's called to make great changes, that's wonderful. But there's some simple things that we can do to bring these commandments to life and to make them real and to be blessed by them.
Well, for Ed, you and the apostolate there that you are the founder and president of, If You Love Me, sort of what's next for you? I know you've got other offerings there at your website, including this prayer of the praying the 10 Commandments, which I reviewed before the show, and it's a lovely prayer, and I will hopefully we'll get that to put up on our social media somewhere, or it would be in the show notes.
Great.
That people can find, because it is a wonderful prayer. But what's kind of next for you and your apostolate?
Yeah, we have been here in the Kansas City St. Joseph Diocese, really made a great impact here in our diocese with the different programs on the commandments, bringing the commandments to life. And now our objective is to get out and reach out to other dioceses. And I appreciate Iowa Catholic Radio bringing me in to these last 10 weeks and today to begin to bring these commandments to other dioceses. And I encourage your listeners to, one of the simple things that you can do is to recommend to your parish, to your Knights of Columbus, your altar society, to have 10 Commandment Sunday. 10 Commandment Sunday is just a simple one Sunday enhancement to what goes on at Mass, just on that weekend, a weekend where the commandments are the focus of the readings, and we provide some materials to the parish so that people can leave with something about the commandments that's going to maybe encourage them to explore them further and to put them into play in their lives in a more real way. And so our objective is to get out into other dioceses and to do what we've done here in the Kansas City St. Joseph Diocese with the blessing of our Bishop James Johnston here in our diocese, and to reach the families, reach the parishes, and to really to change the culture. Our culture is so bent on avoiding what is true and good and holy. Moral relativism has replaced the truth that God has given to us in these commandments. And we need to be intentional to bring it back. We need to be intentional to see how these commandments are the antidote to the chaos and confusion of our culture, the moral relativism that does nothing but cause confusion. It sounds fluffy and wonderful, but it's cotton candy. It just dissolves when you look at what it is trying to do. And these commandments, we need to bring them back in so that people can have something firm to stand on when they're having discussions, when they have decisions to make, and they're trying to figure out what is true and good and holy in this decision, and not be duped by the confusion in our world. So our objective is to really get these commandments anywhere and everywhere so that they can give people the joy and the friendship that these commandments promise.
We've got just a couple more minutes with Ed Van Buskirk, founder and president of If You Love Me. In addition to those offerings that he mentioned, he does speaking, and he's got a podcast, God's Recipe for a Wonderful Life. So I encourage people to look that up. And then I know we have a lot of homeschool families here in central Iowa and people that listen in. There's a wonderful program for children and their families to learn and live the commandments called God's Recipe for School and Family. So be sure to check all of that out. Ed, I kind of hate for it all to end, but I don't think this is the end. I think there's going to be more conversations to be had between yourself and us here at Iowa Catholic Radio on ways we can really join you and partner with you on this mission to combat the confusion and disharmony in the world by living these 10 commandments. Any final thoughts, any final words you want to leave our listeners with as we wrap up this wonderful series we've had over several weeks of began in the spring and moved us into summer? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, really the commandments start with the first commandment. I am the Lord your God. You shall not have any strange gods before me. That's where it all starts. That's the foundation of the commandments. And our world has become so inundated with the false gods that have goodness to them, but false nevertheless when we put them in place with the one true God. We got to put God front and center, and we have to be humble to do so. We have to let go of pretending that we have become that God that really we need to serve most. Put God front and center in our lives. That's where it all starts, in humility, and in humility embrace the whole truth of all of his commandments.
Well, Ed, I can't thank you enough. It's been a tremendous blessing to me and a joy to, again, share these Thursday mornings with you. And we'll look forward to future collaborations on ways we can, again, bring about this joy of the gospel by living out the commandments. Thanks again so much.
Thank you so much.